In this video, I'm going to give you a wildcard team for Game Week 16. 15 players that I think will be great for Game Week 16, but not just 16, going forward and onwards up until the new year. I've looked at the fixtures, we've digested the stats over a couple of quick game weeks. I'm going to give you the best possible options according to what I think for the next few game weeks. Few controversial decisions in there. I'll be really interested to see if you agree with me, but let's take a look at who I've selected. As mentioned at the start, this is a wildcard for Game Week 16. It's not a free hit. We're looking at much more than just the current game week. We're looking much further ahead. If you have got a wildcard in your back pocket at this moment in time, you will not want to have to play it when you get your fresh one in January, remember. You'll want to leave it for a lot longer. This side is going to last you way into the Easter period, I'd say, or a time when the fixtures really will suit you. But we've got to take into consideration some of the fixtures. Now they're on your screen at the moment. I have carefully selected 15 players that I think are best suited for the fixtures coming up, the long-term, medium-term view as well. I've looked at the stats recently. They've been coming thick and fast. Who's in form, teams to target. Some of these decisions are a little bit controversial. I've put options at the end for you. We'll go through those as well. So tell me what you think, guys, at the end of the video. Certainly lots of choices. Some players I'm a little bit undecided on. Some other players I'm absolutely set on. Remember, if you're new around here or you just enjoy FPL content, there's team selection videos, wildcard that we're doing today. We've also got watch list and transfer tips videos, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button. In the meantime, let's have a look at this team. First up then, let's have a look at the goalkeepers, who I have to say did cause me more of a headache than I thought it would do. In goal, I think Foster's got to be, he's rumoured not to be out for too much longer. So 4 million, the cheapest playing goalkeeper. His fixtures look pretty decent in the short term as well. 4 million for a playing goalkeeper. He's a backup that if your first choice keeper gets injured or suspended, he can come in. He just seems like an obvious choice. I'm going Guaita. Then there's other choices. You still could go Ramsdale. But I think 4.6 greatest fixtures look good. Palace look reasonably solid. I think Southampton, Watford, Norwich, I quite like it. I quite like them. It's absolutely open for debate. I'm not set on him at all. I quite like his fixtures. Again, 4.6. I'm not prepared, given the amount of potential point scoring from elsewhere on the side and getting better players. I'm not prepared to pay much more than that in order to get a keeper. I just don't think the upside's worth it. So Guaita gets the nod for me. But by all means, I don't think I'm absolutely set in stone for that. But Foster, Guaita, that would be my selection. Moving into that defence then, there's so many good defensive options available. Do you know what though? I'm going to slightly hit a left field shot and go straight in with Tavares. 4.3. Arsenal's fixtures look pretty decent. He is. Every time I see him, he passes that eye test. He looks nailed in that Arsenal side at the moment. No goals, only one assist. XGI is pretty decent for a defender. You've got to say 0.21. You have to remember sometimes that that's okay for a defender. That's pretty attacking, pretty decent. We've just been spoilt with the likes of XGIs that are much higher for players like Chilwell and James and Trent. But normal, that's all right. That's still alongside the sort of likes of Cancelo. Tavares 4.3 on that price. He just looks like such a good option at 4.3. He just enables you to do so many other things. So Tavares, I quite like the looks of. Even the likes of Lamptey, I'm interested in as well. But Tavares just gets it for the money. Cancelo, 6.7. You are paying premium prices for this guy. But yeah, I think he's worth it. 5 assists, playing in Man City with great fixtures coming up. XGI again is only slightly more than Tavares. A lot more money. But I do think you get more clean sheet potential. He's nailed on in that Man City side. And he's popping up with those assists. Also, he's got the option of moving into midfield. We know what Man City are like. He's just been chipping in with assists recently. Early start of the season, he was threatening to get returns. Annoyingly only getting in the Champions League. But now, more recently, he is chipping in. I think he's been nominated for Player of the Month as well. So Cancelo gets absolutely adored. He's got to come in. Reece James, I don't even know if it's worth talking about him. Nailed on that right-hand side of defence. Tuchel talks him up every time. We know how potent. 4 goals. For a fullback, he hasn't even played every game so far this season. 4 assists. XGI is amazing. Champions League goals, everything, blah, blah, blah. He's just brilliant. He has got to be, he's an absolute stone-walled player that comes into my side. Absolutely nailed on for me. I put Christensen in here. 4.8, he doesn't have any sort of goal threat whatsoever. With the likes of Chilwell out, Alonso's place seems a little bit uncertain. Tuchel talks about him not being able to play sort of 3 games in a week. Thick and fast the games will come over Christmas. Christensen will get some game time. For 4.8 as a way into that Chelsea defence, I really like him. Hopefully, only one caveat to him is he's got to sort that contract situation out. He's been at Chelsea through his whole career. There's a contract apparently going on, he's on the table, and Tuchel's talked about him just sort of almost nailing his colours to the mast, saying if he wants to stay at the club, make sure he signs a contract. I'm hoping that gets sorted out, and then he will become more of a permanent fixture. Did play the last game. Keep an eye on him, but for 4.8, I just think he's a really good option just to get into that Chelsea defence. We're not expecting any attacking returns, so I quite like 4.8. The other options would be someone like Rudiger, but you spend an extra $1 million. For the extra money and what I can do elsewhere on the side, I think Christian's a decent option, but you do have to accept he is a little bit of a rotation risk. He won't play every game. He'll possibly play 3 out of every 5. 4.8, I can live with that, I think. Last one, those prices of Tavares and Christensen really allow you to go to Alexander-Arnold. 8 million, wow, he's expensive, but look at that, 7 assists. An XGI that's even better than Reece James. 1 goal. He's got to be in your side, absolutely. I love the fact that he's keeping clean sheets, gets forward, bonus points galore. Just looks like a brilliant option to me. Looking at the fixtures for some of these guys then, this is super important. Tavares, decent fixtures, as all these players have. I've selected players that have really good fixtures. I've only looked at the next 6 games. I don't think it's worth planning any further in advance. There's certainly an argument to not even plan that far in advance. Things will change. So many statistics will affect your decision making between then and now. So just keep updating them. I like to look 6 games in advance. Everton away, Southampton's a good fixture, Leeds, Norwich. At 4.3, tougher games. I don't mind benching someone like Tavares, but 4.3 I think is a great way to get enablers in the rest of the side. He gives you so much more money to work with, and there's a potential for attacking returns and clean sheets in there. He just looks really nice to me. Cancelo, look at those fixtures. Wow, we know Man City almost fixture proof against anyone, but that looks really nice. Watford away. Watford can score against anyone, but Wolves, a little bit goal short at the moment. Leeds at home, Newcastle, Leicester, Brentford. Cancelo, you'd expect some sort of attacking returns during that period. Again, Reece James, Chelsea, again, just so good against anyone. West Ham, way difficult game, but you couldn't rule out an attacking return, even double digits for James in any game. So Christensen, obviously in the same boat. You wouldn't expect him to play all those games, but again, I've got enough cover in that defence to give me options elsewhere in the side. Remember, you have to bench someone. And then Arnold, again, Liverpool, he just returns against anyone. No red fixtures for them. They look pretty decent in the medium term. And we're talking about Liverpool here, who again can put anyone to the sword and score or keep clean sheets against anyone. So across the board, those fixtures for that defence just looks really sweet. Let's move into that midfield then. And some of these players, I'm not going to spend much time dwelling on. They're just so obvious and nailed on choices. I'm not going to bore you with all the details. One of those is, of course, Mo Salah. XG of over 1, 13 goals if you need a reminding. He's very expensive, so he takes a large chunk of your budget. Can you afford to be without him? I'll suggest no. Equally, Jota, what a great asset. He's become 8 goals, 1 assist. XG over 1 again. Nailed in that Liverpool side you set the moment without Firmino. Obviously, we have to consider, come the new year, the African Cup of Nations, Mane and Salah be gone out. So Jota even then becomes a really good option. He's a set and forget, you'd say, almost. Klopp bigging him up as well. So he's had a great season so far. Those two in that Liverpool midfield seem like certainties for me. Gundogan is my first controversial call. You could obviously go for the likes of Bernardo, which everyone's moving on to. I just like Gundogan. 7.3, same price. His XGI is higher. He's taking more shots in the box. I think with the likes of Foden coming back, Grealish now returning, KDB imminently returning, Bernardo, if he still gets the game time, I just don't see him playing as far forward. He will drop into a more deeper role he was playing earlier on in the season. Gundogan, though, could still push forward if he plays. It's the minutes that I worry about with Gundogan. But again, you do have to put some of these players on the bench. So I like Gundogan if he gets the minutes. Bernardo, I just don't see him keeping up the current scoring rate. So you might disagree with me. 7.3, the stats suggest again XGI in terms of shots in and around the box, Gundogan is a better call. I like him. Historically, we know how good and explosive he can be if he goes on a good run in that Man City midfield. Likewise, Gallagher's had a great season so far. 4 goals, 5 assists. 6.3. There's very few players with as good an XGI as him. Palace's fixtures, as we'll see in a minute, look pretty tasty as well. He's so focal and integral. He's on set pieces in that Palace side. Looks in great form. Playing for England as well. I really like him. For the first time this season, I'm going to suggest bringing in Smith Rowe. I've avoided him so far. I do think his XGI is low. I don't think he takes as many shots in and around the box as he possibly as I'd like and other players do. He's got 5 goals and 2 assists though. You can't argue with that. But moving forward now, I think the reason I would go for him is those fixtures look much nicer. He had some difficult games. And obviously at 6 million, he just seems like the best option at that price. And an Arsenal side that's scoring goals and the fixtures look good. So he comes in for me. Let's take a look at those fixtures then. We've already seen from a defensive point of view Liverpool's fixtures. Again, attacking wise, we know they can score against absolutely anyone. Wolves away, I expect that to be difficult. I've got Salah as everyone else has. I'm going to captain him. I'm just not sure. I'm not convinced. The Wolves have been so tight defensively this season. Newcastle though, Villa, both at home at Anfield, you just couldn't rule him scoring. Same with Jota. Looking across, I mean, those Man City games, those fixtures just look so good. Watford, Leeds, Newcastle, Brentford, the likes of Leicester conceding goals. Wolves, again, they've got a tough set of fixtures. Gundogan, if he plays, that's a big question for me. But those City fixtures are ones you definitely want to get onto. Gallagher's fixtures look great. Everton, Southampton, Watford, Tottenham, Norwich, they look really tasty. I would want to be playing him in some of those games. And Smith Rowe, as we've said, they've got a couple of difficult ones. They've got Man City coming up in 6 weeks' time. West Ham, but it's at home, and West Ham certainly have been conceding goals. In the meantime, Southampton, Leeds, Norwich, again, good fixtures for Smith Rowe. The difficulty, I think, with this side, partially is going to be who to put on the bench. Finally, we look up front then. Who are our attackers going to be? I think we have to go down a Ronaldo route. 6 goals, 2 assists. XGI is really good. He is expensive, as we know, but in a minute we'll give more credence to why he should be in instead of other players. But we've got so many attacking players defensively and in midfield, so expensive. There has to be a trade-off. That's what FPL is all about. I've made it up front. I'm going Josh King 5.7 just because his pricey enables you to do things. He has got good fixtures. And to be fair, his XGI 0.68 looks really good. 3 assists, 5 goals, absolutely nothing to be sniffed at. When you're comparing that alongside the likes of Ronaldo there, pound for pound, you say King is much better value. What I'm unsure about as well, and I'm absolutely open discussion, he's got Dennis up front. I'm not sure I like doubling up on that Watford attack. 6 goals, 6 assists, you can't argue with that. Even cheaper, 7 million cheaper than Ronaldo, and he's got 4 more assists. XGI doesn't stand up to Ronaldo's though. And obviously it is going forward that we want to look. But if we look at these fixtures, Ronaldo's, wow, that's the reason why he's in there. That's the reason why you're prepared to pay that price of 12.4. It's not a price I'd have necessarily paid before now, and he's got returns. But look at those: Palace, Norwich, Brentford, Newcastle, Burnley. I mean, how explosive could he be in that time? We now know he's on penalties as well. That just adds more fuel to the fire. He just feels like a player that I have to get on top of. King, their fixtures in the next 3 games look brilliant. Brentford, Burnley, granted away. Palace, that looks like a good set of fixtures to me. Same obviously goes for Dennis. I'm unsure about having 2 Watford strikers up there, but those fixtures do reassure me a little bit. But like I said, there has to be a trade-off with the other premium players you have on a side. You have to have some budget players in there. Do you put them in midfield? Do you put them budget players in defence? For me, in terms of expensive strikers premium, I just don't see enough value in at the moment. Lukaku's blanked in a lot of games. I do like him. You've also got Kane, who's not hitting his straps either. So do you pay the big money up front for players that aren't producing, or do you go to defensive midfield where there are players at the moment in form? You could argue you want to get ahead of the curve on some of those players. Absolutely. For me right now, you might disagree. I think King, Dennis do represent good value. I would be interested, though, to see if anyone else emerges that could possibly separate doubling up on that Watford attack. Remember, you can always put someone on the bench. There has to be 3 on the bench, I'm afraid, guys. So you've got to consider that as well. So there's the side in all its glory and entirety, guys. Really like that defence. There's some players in this side that I absolutely think, wow, there's no way he comes out. I'm not even debating or having a discussion. The likes of Salah, Cancelo, James, Arnold, even Ronaldo, I'd have to have in absolutely there. First man on the sheet, Jota, do like Gallagher. There's a few other players. I think Dennis would have to for the price. I don't think there's anything else. He enables you to do so many other things. Foster as well would have to stay. The likes maybe of Tavares and Christensen. You've got Gundogan, possibly Smith Rowe King, but you've got so little money to play with. It's who do you trade off? Do you downgrade a Ronaldo? Do you suddenly start to look at better options than Gundogan, but you want to get on those Man City fixtures? So many things. Other options available, guys, and I could list so many different players that I think I'd want to get in that aren't even on this list. Gundogan to Bernardo, perfectly acceptable. Given the reasons why I'd go Gundogan, can understand if you want to go Silva. If you want to double up on that Man City midfield, I certainly don't see any harm in that with those fixtures coming up either. With Reguilón, as Conte made Tottenham much harder to beat, they look certainly more solid. They haven't particularly, you would say, been tested against the top side yet under Conte. So perhaps it's too early days, but he's got such great attacking potential. But again, 5.2, are there better options? You're upgrading someone like a Tavares, but where does the money come from? Vardy looks good fixtures again. He looks good. Scored a couple of goals the other day. Missed some good chances against Southampton, you have to say. But again, if you downgrade a Ronaldo to him, that suddenly frees your 1.6. What could you do with that in midfield? The likes of Maddison, possibly, instead of a Gallagher. I wouldn't want to take a Jota out. Don't think I'd want to miss out on those Man City fixtures. It's difficult to see how you can fit him in. But again, 6.2, he's playing really well. He's returning. If he's back on form, a Leicester side, that very attacking, scoring goals, looks like a good option. Harry Kane, we haven't even talked about Harry Kane. He was a top scorer last year. Assists, and we haven't even had a discussion about him. He's nailed on the Tottenham side and the new management. They're winning games now, creating chances, and he's not even being mentioned. So he's almost a differential. He's what, sort of 10% owned at the moment. You could go Ronaldo to Kane. At the moment, I think that's a very tough decision to make, not playing Ronaldo with those fixtures. But again, could you get both of them in? The sacrifices you'd have to make are quite drastic. Son, we haven't even talked about players like Son, and he scored in the last game. It's just getting them in. So, guys, loads of options. I could literally go on all day giving the pros and cons of some of the other players. But I think my only concern about that original side, I think, would be that 2 Watford players up front. I would like a different one, but again, where do you get the money from? And remember, you do have to bench some players as well. I hope that's been of some use to you. Please let me know what your thoughts are, who you would swap in, who you would take out, or any other must-haves you think. In the meantime, hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate all the support I'm getting at the moment, guys. Thank you for that. Have a great weekend. Let me know how you got on for game week 15 and beyond. In the meantime, speak to you soon.